Hello everyone, I'm Ben Johnson and this is the Perpetual Chess Podcast. On Perpetual Chess, I have weekly conversations with chess players, personalities, authors, and adult improvers about their lives, their careers, and about chess improvement. Perpetual Chess is brought to you through the generosity of its Patreon and PayPal supporters. For more information, go to perpetualchesspod.com. Hey everyone, welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a special treat for you guys this week. We have two of the most respected chess trainers in the world and myself for some reason. They've both been on the show before, so I think they're familiar voices to you guys. We have GM Jacob Aagaard. His books get recommended on this show nearly every week. He's worked with top players like Shankland and many others. We have RB Ramesh, of course, also recently on the show, one of the top trainers in India, works with young phenom Pragananda, and they're here to tell us about a new program that they've launched called 365 Chess Academy. I'll let them share the details. So, Jacob, are you hearing us? Do you want to go first?
Yes, I hear you, and I don't think I should be going first. Well, I can go first by saying that I was invited to participate in this project by Ramesh, who now will tell us about his grand vision.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob, and hello, Ben, and hello, viewers. So first of all, Ben, thank you for the opportunity to interact with the viewers, and it's nice to have the interview again, especially with one of the top trainers in the world, Jacob Aagaard, whom I respect a lot. So regarding the vision about 365 Chess Academy, I've been a chess trainer for close to a couple of decades now, and we usually have a situation where there are too many players out there who are looking for good training opportunities, but a trainer can only train so many players at a time, and due to the paucity of time and technology. So with the internet connections getting better and better. Earlier we had 2G, subsequently 3G, 4G, and we are almost nearing 5G technology. So it's becoming more and more possible that we can reach out to larger audience using the technology that can bridge the distance between the trainer and the players. And so I also came to know about online webinars with platforms like Zoom, and there are many other platforms out there who give us the opportunity to interact with multiple audience at the same time from the comforts of our home. So I had experimented in the last couple of years by working with a small group of players in India, and we have been having a couple of lessons every week, and it was doing quite well, and I found that the players were also finding it very useful. So I thought, can we do it in a larger scale and not just restricting to the Indian audience, but if we can reach out to the players throughout the world, that would be fantastic. And I've been thinking about it, and when we met last year at Greece, so I gave Jacob my ideas about this, and we started discussing, and he found the idea very interesting. And then we started discussing in detail, and here we are. We launched on January 1st, 2020. So the objective is to meet the training requirements of players from around the world who want to improve, who have the time to practice, but they sometimes don't know on what areas they should be focusing on, how to make their preparation more effective, and also basically a chance to interact with top players and top trainers from around the world. So with this platform, we are hoping to meet all these expectations of our audience. And Jacob, probably you could add something to what I said.
Yeah, so first of all, whenever Ramesh has asked me to be a part of something, I just say yes. Because in good company, you're always you're always going to have a good time. This is, by the way, also why we wanted to come back here, because we both had a very pleasant experience last time, and thank you for that, Ben.
Oh, thank you.
I should probably add a little bit about the technical side of it. So yes, at the moment we're using the Zoom platform. We have a website where if somebody went in to see our website in the first month of our existence, they will have seen that it was pretty bad. And we are chess trainers. We are not great web developers, and we received bad advice, and we ended up in a not very good place. But by the time this is aired, which the new website should be up. So the website will give you access to our forum. This is if you pay to get in, of course. You get access to our forum where you can discuss things with the trainers, other participants. It will give you access to our schedule, and will give you access to past recording. What we're providing is live classes. So we are having them at different times during the day, and it's through Zoom. And if you're a member, then you can log in and join the class. And at the moment, every class has somewhere between 15 and 30 participants. So we are able to answer each and every question. Maybe over time, when we have more participants, we'll not be able to answer every question. We have 9 classes a week, generally. We promise 450 hours a year. So it's around, the price is $499 for a year subscription. So it's about just over $1 per hour. And we have various trainers. We have some things which are sort of standalone classes, weekly classes, where you don't have to see the previous one or the following one at all to get anything out of it. And we have some where, yes, you can join one class and get a lot out of it, but they're also part of a bigger narrative. At the moment, we have a class on Kasparov's development in the early 80s. Ramesh is doing one on positional play. I'm doing one on calculation. We have one on how to navigate inferior positions. And
you should say who the trainers are.
Thoughts of strategy. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we have these longer classes, generally aiming at 13-week, where when you log into the website, you will be able to catch up on those. You will also be able to see the most recent classes of the other classes, which will be, Ramesh does an interactive coaching. I do a homework club, which I'll talk about later probably. Then we have an under 1800 class for those who feel that the other class is going pretty fast and intensive, and here they have a chance for everything to be slowed down and ask questions and so on. We have a new ideas in the opening class, and we have a game of the week, which is, they're all pretty much standalone classes. So this will be available through the website, and then you can log into these live classes, which are different times during the day, depending on who it is. For example, my homework club is 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Britain on Mondays, generally. Today it will be on a Tuesday, on the day we're recording, so I will do it right after this interview. And in that, you can download the exercises, 16 exercises for the week, solve them, write on your printed pieces of paper, take photos of them, combine them into a PDF, and send them to me at least a day in advance, and I will mark it and send it back. So you have seen my marking before I actually do the class. And I think that, or Ramesh's course, or like you were saying, who are the coaches? Sam Shankland doing inferior positions. I think all of these courses alone are worth the money. It's just you have 9. So people are like, oh, I don't have time to do all 9. Well, you don't have to. You can just choose the one you like the best and then jump in and out of the others. So yes, the coaches. So we have some from various places. We have Ramesh from India. I am based in Scotland. Then from America, we have Sam Shankland, based in California. We have from Europe, we have two Spanish guys, or 3 Spanish guys, depending on how you count them. You have even Salgado-Lopez, who was, I think, 2650 and is 2600 still, and member of the Spanish national team. And he is such a pleasure to be around, and everyone who watches his classes will feel this for sure. We have Julen, Arizmendi, and Martinez, also from Spain, who is though American-born. So his English is perfect, and he is also such a pleasant person, and he is such a good educator. And I'm sure everyone who watched his first 2 lessons so far will really have enjoyed them. We have Renier Castellanos, who is Cuban Spanish, lives in Romania, who is not a GM. He's our only guy who's not a GM because actually he applied for the title, but it turned out that one of the norms he thought he had made, the arbiter had messed up. So he got declined. But now he's, back on trying to get the final norm and get the title, and he will get it soon enough. And then finally we have Sabino Brunello from Italy, who used to be a student of mine, who's a very, very strong player. He was 26-30 at some point. And he's generally doing classes earlier in the day because he lives rural Italy. So his internet connection is not very good after kids get home from school. And they turn on YouTube and Netflix, and then the bandwidth of the whole neighborhood goes down. So Ben, let us ask you, because we actually gave you a month free subscription. Have you been able to watch anything?
Yes, I have. Yeah, and I really enjoyed them. So I tried to watch at least one lecture from every instructor that you mentioned. I have to admit, somehow GM Julen Arizmendi slipped through the cracks, although I do remember him being in the US in his younger days. And as you say, I'm sure his English is perfect, and I'm sure he's very good. But I greatly enjoyed it. I mean, Sam Shankland, for a player of his caliber, is a natural-born teacher. He's very good. He doesn't go too fast. He walks people through things. Good communicator, and of course, I enjoyed the other presentations as well. I even watched some of the Ivan Salgado-Lopez on under 1800 presentation, and of course, I loved the stuff that you guys did as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm just helping you guys out because I think this is a worthy endeavor. I know you guys get asked for lessons all the time. And you can't really do one-on-one lessons with all of the non-titled players that would like them, but this is a way to have access to your chess knowledge.
Well, I can butt in here since there's no question. Yes, you're saying non-title players. Actually, our level is quite spread quite far. So in the one end, we have I get submission for Homework Club with someone who says they have a rating of 700. I don't know under which system that is. And I know that from kids in Scotland who have 700-800 in rating, they're not at the level as this girl is. But that's on the one spectrum in what I see in the Homework Club. And the other spectrum, there are some GMs and IMs who are paid subscribers and send in Homework Club and stuff like this. And we try to facilitate all levels. So the way we do this is generally by assuming that people are smart. And we understand that although everyone can sort of understand what we're saying most of the time, that not everyone can solve it and do it most of the time. And with interactive lessons like we do here, it's very difficult to have, think for 20 minutes in a position, which I would do in a training session or a camp with individuals, or here, solve this for an hour. We can't do this. So instead we have the Homework Club, and the questions we ask during lessons are normally like 2-3 minutes. And I think, what would you think here? What's your natural thinking? And maybe more like hints, like which is the worst place piece, I would ask.
Yeah,
generally.
it's good. It's good that you do that, because a lot of people, I think, have the issue where they're familiar with your 3 questions or the overall framework of how you've written about chess should be thought about, but it's like you need a checklist. So with you constantly asking that, it's like you can develop a better mental map.
Thanks.
Yeah,
we're ready for another question, I think.
Okay, Ramesh, are you there? You're quiet over there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we have a bunch of questions from listeners, which I want to get to. I know we don't have a ton of time, but just out of curiosity, I mean, you guys mentioned you're chess trainers, you're not business people. I think a lot of, every chess trainer is a business person in some sense, but it's not your natural forte. So what have been the obstacles besides a bit of bad advice in getting the site to where it will be once it's up and running and ready to fire for years on end?
I think, like as you mentioned, at least in my case, I have very less experience or knowledge about the business part of setting up a project like this. So Jacob's help has been immense. He has put in a lot of hours in getting the content and the design for the website, and Kalia as well has pitched in a lot of working hours on getting to where we are now. So there have been many challenges apart from the website, like making the schedule for coaches living in different time zones. That also, it's not very easy, but we are getting better at this, and we are able to nowadays make the schedule in a much quicker pace. And also the audience, they are from different time zones, so from different continents. So we have to keep meeting their expectations as well. Once in a while, we get issues from some corner that they are not getting enough classes in a week. So we have to keep making changes constantly. And regarding the training part, I think we don't face that much of an issue, since all of us have pretty good experience behind us. But in handling these logistics, there have been some minor issues, but I think that should be expected in a startup like ours, and we are getting better at it.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't envy you guys. I mean, I'm sure you'll get everything running smoothly, but yeah, it sounds like a daunting scope project to launch sort of at once.
I should probably say that from a business perspective, everything is fine. It was simply the initial website, which you have seen, is not very good, and we went to a guy who was a sort of smooth talking guy I haven't experienced before, and he was simply not. His team they were not up for the task, and we parted ways, and we're with someone else now, and it's going very well. But the rest of the business aspect is fine. We still need, still have a lot of cost, a lot of overhead, and it's a lot of work, but it's under control. It's just some people have seen our website and seen what is this, and some people have told me that if they had not known me personally, they would have been run away screaming because of the website. And that will not be the case from, I think, already later this week, but sure, by the time this will be published, we'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, and of course, price-wise, $500 a year. I mean, at the moment one digs into one's pocket, that's a lot of money to put out, but it's an amazing bargain. I mean, the amount of content cannot be. It's hard to exaggerate how much content there is. I mean, I haven't tried to watch them live too much, just because it's the mere idea of me being able to schedule that is unlikely. But I've dug into the archive, and that way, as you mentioned, if the puzzle, if you need a few extra minutes or something like that, if you're watching later at your own speed, you can. And of course, you guys have a Facebook group, so even people who aren't watching live, I'm sure can submit questions that way. So yeah, it looks pretty promising. In this episode, you'll hear GM Jacob Aagaard rave about former world number 3 and legendary author and trainer GM Artur Yusupov's Build Up Your Chess series. Did you know that the first 2 volumes are available on Chessable and that its Move Trainer methodology ensures that you really learn the material? The course is designed for the adult improver to lay a solid foundation for their chess games. Yusupov's course covers basic knowledge in 6 areas of the game: tactics, positional play, strategy, the calculation of variations, the opening, and the endgame. With the foreword written by GM Viswanathan Anand, it's an award-winning book that has been recommended on this show by Aagaard, I Am John Donaldson, and others. So go to chessable.com and check it out. But it's such an opportunity to have you guys on, so let's get to some chess improvement questions. We have a bunch of them. You guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question is from supporter and friend of the podcast, Neil Bruce, who asks the age-old question, but I'm sure you guys are helping some people with this within 365 Chess Academy. Neil asks, he says, for a 1600 rated adult player with 12 hours a week available for chess, how should that time be divided between playing games, analyzing games, studying chess, etc.?
Yeah, so this is a very common question. Like I was mentioning earlier, like most of the players, they have some amount of time which they can devote for the game, but they are literally clueless on what should be done and how it should be done. And this is one of the areas we are trying to bridge through 365 Chess Academy. And regarding the specific question for a player of around 1600 FIDE rated and adult player, and he says he has 12 hours per week. That's roughly close to 2 hours a day, which is pretty good for an adult player. And because usually they are already married, have kids, they have work, and finding 2 hours for the game is fantastic. So now the question is, how do we plan the preparation schedule? And one of the things he has asked is, like, should we be playing games? And playing games is generally what most players do. Even when I work one-to-one sessions with young players, they prefer to play games online and also solve puzzles online. This is the most common thing many upcoming players do. But I would suggest, like, if you are habitually playing in weekend tournaments or quads, that's usually the case in the US, then I would suggest you already have opportunity to play regularly with the other players. So playing online along with this won't make sense because we have roughly only 2 hours for training. So I would recommend to use the 2 hours for other aspects. So point 1 and 2, that is playing games and analyzing those games, I wouldn't give too much importance, but the games which they play during a tournament, maybe those games should be analyzed because they are more relevant to the training process because you're doing it under the tournament pressure with a fixed time control and so on. So the third part is more important, which is studying chess. And he basically wants to know how much time I should be devoting to strategy, tactics, opening, endgame, master's game, etc. How do we plan this? So there are 2 approaches I would suggest. One is trying to identify the areas where we are not doing well, basically our weak areas where we are not comfortable, and trying to get rid of those weaknesses or get better in those areas. So this is one approach. And usually most players, they prefer this approach. They feel it's like if I can get rid of my weaknesses, then my overall playing quality will go up. The other approach, which I personally prefer, is to focus on building strengths. Because in many cases, from my experience, I have seen that the weakness is not really a weakness per se, but it's just a reflection of not having enough strength, not having built enough strength. So, for example, if I don't improve my calculation, then my attacking skills will also be affected because I may have a good attacking position, but I have to make some small sacrifice and I don't have the calculation skills to see whether it is good or bad for me. So I may simply reject that sacrifice. So if I don't build the strength in important areas, that could have a negative impact in other areas as well. And we might simply think I'm not good in attack, something like this. So what I would suggest is it's better to focus on building strengths. And when we build strength in the critical areas, then it will have a positive impact in non-critical areas as well. So that would be the general approach I take. But if over a period of time we have worked in a particular area and we are still not making progress, then I would consider those areas to be our weaknesses. And the question of timing is also critical, I believe. For example, when to focus on our strength and when to focus on our weaknesses. I'm not suggesting that our weak areas should be completely ignored. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. But without building strengths, trying to get better in the weak areas won't have the desired impact. So, and it also depends on the form of the player. Like generally what I would suggest is if the player is in good form, then he is more confident about his skills, his learning capacities. So he will be generally more receptive to learning in a better way. So if you're in good form, then I would suggest to focus on building strengths. Like you could learn a new opening, or you can learn a different setup in the same opening. For example, against the Sicilian Knight-Off, if you're playing BG5 only and you're in good form, maybe that's a good time to add another setup against the Knight-Off. So you could either completely learn a new opening or a new setup, or you could work in a new area. For example, I'm in good form, my results are good, but I have not worked on my endgame skills as much as I would like to in the past. So now when my mind is receptive, I should probably put more hours in getting better in endgame, and I would be a good learner when I'm in good form. And conversely, when I feel my form is not good, then probably it makes sense to work on the weak areas, because when my form is not good, it's usually because I'm making some mistakes repeatedly in my games. So for example, if my calculation is not good, or if my concentration is not good, and as a result my results are suffering, and if I try to learn a new opening, so you are trying to build a strength, right? So when you learn a new opening, what could happen is like you may still make calculation mistakes, you may still not have the good concentration. So when you are in bad form, all your negative qualities will be more prominent, and in that cases, if you are trying to learn new stuff, then still it's like you are pouring water in a bucket with a hole. So it's better to plug the hole first and then pour the water. So when you are in bad form, we have to identify what is affecting our results and work on getting better in that particular area. So based on the form, you have to plan on what areas you should work. And in general, before a tournament, I would suggest to focus more on revising the openings which you play, and especially give focus to openings where you have bad results, where you're losing more games. It could be either with white or black. So identify those openings and either prepare better or identify better setups than what you are playing currently. So that is one good way of working. And also work on your calculation skills, because like I remember Grandmaster Elizbar Ubilava, he told me, I think in year 2001, that it's better to calculate well and make strategic mistakes, positional mistakes, than being good in positional chess, but you can't calculate. So this is a dilemma many players face. So that was his opinion, and in some ways I agree with as well.
Jacob, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, minor few things. First of all, I think in the world elite at the moment, we see a lot of players who play very good positional chess, have very good openings, but don't calculate very well. So in the big philosophical discussion, we should probably all head out for a pint, although Ramesh and I don't drink really. The thing maybe to add is if you're 1600, then your openings probably don't matter that much. The problems are later in the game. And when he's saying studying chess, then I think solving positions is very, very important. And that's what you can spend the last 3 hours on of chess study during the week after you have finished watching the 365 videos.
Right, yeah. I mean, that alone, that'll take up close to, as you say, near 12 hours a week.
Well, it's probably close to 10. The other guys will be sharp for an hour and I will run over endlessly.
I don't think anyone's complaining about that. And
you'll be surprised. It has happened.
That's funny. All right. And we actually have a sort of related question. One thing I would add is I think that the advice that you guys gave was really useful, but I sense from people who submit questions that, and I think actually we'll get something later that sort of touches on this, that people just need a baseline so they understand that they have to find their own strengths and weaknesses and sort of calibrate from there how much time to spend on tactics, how much time to spend on openings, and how much time to spend on endgames. But it can be so overwhelming trying to decide that I feel like they need a starting point of like, okay, the base is you should spend 50% of your time on tactics or something, and from there you adjust. Before we get to the next question, are you guys able to add anything about just sort of general guideline of how to allocate time?
Okay, so generally what I suggest to my students is to spend 60% of your time on your improving your middle game skills, and 20% of the time on your end game skills, and 20% of your time on improving your opening skills. So generally I would say 60, 20, 20 till you are reaching around 2200 or 2300 level. So basically it's the middle game. Most of the time the results are decided. And in the opening phase, it's usually like who gets the advantage or who gets a more comfortable position. That is what is generally decided in most of the games in the opening phase. So I've seen many times like players whose practical skills and analytical skills are not well developed. Even if they get good positions out of the opening, they are not going to have a positive result all the time. So spending more time on getting comfortable position or known position would not make much sense if you're not able to convert it into what it should have been. So I would suggest to work more on middle game skills. And in middle game, like there are two types of players. Some are more positional and some are more tactical or aggressive. So if you are a tactical or aggressive inclined player, then I would suggest you should work on your calculation skills. And for this, I have few suggestions. One, while solving puzzles, you have to keep four things in mind. One, try not to move pieces while solving. Because I have seen time and again people, they solve a position, and after they come to first two moves, they keep the first two moves on the board. Again, they start thinking. So this way, they are going to lose much of the training, the benefits of solving puzzles. So one suggestion is not to move pieces at all till you get the complete answer. That's the first one. The second thing is if opponent has a good defense, you have to find it. Like you have an idea which you feel is very good and probably right, but you should not rush to looking at the solution. Instead, you have to try to refute your own idea. So that way you will improve to look at the position more objectively. And the third point is if you get the first or second move correct, it's not enough. You have to try to get the complete answer. So incomplete solution is not as good enough. And the final point is whatever analysis you have made, it should be as close to correct as possible. So when you solve puzzles with these 4 points in mind, you will get much better outcome. So improving your calculation by solving puzzles or studies is a very good way. And the second thing is look at a lot of good attacking games, both from the classical viewpoint and also from modern games. So this way, if you're an aggressive player, you know how to attack and you also know how to calculate. So this way you can make full advantage of your strengths. And if you're more positionally inclined, I would suggest Jacob has given the 3 questions. So that's a fantastic method. You try to identify the weak pieces, opponent's idea, and so on. So you can refer to these 3 questions as a checkpoint and focus more. And also you have to work a lot on your endgame skills as well, because this will add to your strength. So this is my concrete suggestion for the players out there on this question.
Excellent. Can I add just one little thing that and this is a thing that I think a lot of people ignore when I say it, but I mean it very seriously, which is when you study puzzles, write down your answer. It doesn't mean like write down the first move, and it doesn't mean write down everything you have seen. At camps, I'm very strict and can force people to write it down, and most go home and they don't do it again. But it is really very valuable to write down your solution, because then when you read the solution in the book or on the website or wherever you're solving, you cannot tell yourself, I think I saw that, or I would have seen that, or something. If it's not there, it's not there. What you have to write down is just enough to convince, like, let's say it was me, who was your coach, convince me that you understand what's happening. I was like, yeah, you saw the main point here. So, for example, in the homework group, sometimes people will send me one line, one variation, which is correct. And I will say back, yeah, that's good, but you also should have mentioned what happened in this variation. Again, and it's normally not many. It's not, you wouldn't write down more than a maximum 15 half moves for a solution. It's like if you have something which is very complicated. It's not about writing down a lot. It's just about making sure you cover the main points. If you do that for yourself, you can hold yourself accountable and you don't have to give money to someone else to do it.
Okay, good advice. And we have a lot of questions and a limited amount of time, so I want to hop to the next one. But that was super helpful. Thank you guys. So Peter Newhall, just to highlight the point of that this is a topic that comes up a lot. You guys may have heard he asked a question along similar lines to John Bartholomew a couple of weeks back on the show. So this is a question from friend of the podcast, Peter Newhall. Peter says, as an adult approver, it's not just hard to find time to study and play, but even harder to decide which training activities to do and what to stick with. In other words, I'm good at coming up with many training plans for different areas of chess, but I have a hard time sticking to any because there's so much else I could work on. If an individual has 10 hours each week to train, how should they stay on track? Have daily goals that never change and areas of more intensive study that change each week, each month? Any tips for the student to know when to switch the main area of focus and not deviate before then?
I think I want to take this one, if that's okay. So the first thing, which I think is the most important one, is the thing about drawing up training plans. Now, I have personal experience. I have drawn up so many action plans over time. Most of the time, it has been a way of procrastination. Mm-hmm. I would say for something like Quality Chess or 365 Chess Academy or some other things, it has been because, things are happening. I'm working with other people. But when it's just myself, usually it's procrastination. If you want to write something down, you should write down what you have done, not what you're planning to do. There's maybe a mental thing happening that when you write down that you're going to do it, you sort of half have done it. And then, you're halfway there and you don't need to do the rest maybe. But I think often that there's this expression, the perfect is the enemy of the good, or the good is the enemy of the perfect. In this case, I actually think the perfect is the enemy of the good. There are people who want to have the perfect training plan, where in reality, we should think about how do the really great players train. So, for example, I've trained, you mentioned Sam, but I think just as important is Boris Gelfand. Which
yes, of course, yeah.
Is not only had a very good career, but is still rated 1 point above Sam at this very moment. So with him, I know that he was preparing to play Anand in the World Championship match. So obviously he was preparing the Grinfeld and the Sveshnikov, which was new ideas. He was preparing ideas against the Semislav and other things which Anand plays, and he had a whole team working for him, and they had a match strategy and all kind of things. And then across his table comes this article from the Russian magazine Chess24 on rook endings, some new ideas in some very interesting positions. And he said it was just too interesting, so he spent 3 days studying it. So anyone who thinks that they're not disciplined enough should remember that Boris was leading the World Championship match, and he was, in the classical match, he was much closer to winning it than Anand was. And in the course of events, he studied what interested him at some point. He was also sort of disciplined. I need to look at this, and we have the thing with weaknesses and strengths, and Ramesh has some good ideas. I think it's more important to micro plan when you're there in your training, and it's like, okay, I have half an hour. Now, let me get something out of it. And then just take whatever down the shelf, which says to you, well, I think it's you and me tonight. I think that's probably a better plan. If you have something where you're like, okay, I want to learn this, like, let's say you take Dvoretsky's 220 positions from Dvoretsky's Endgame manual. It's like, I want to learn them, and I want to go through them again and again and again and get that nailed down. Then you're sort of like, put a reminder in your calendar or something. It's time to look at Dvoretsky's Endgame again. Initially, maybe every 2 weeks, and then every month, and then every 2 months. And I think we can hear that it's raining here in Glasgow for once. But otherwise, I think it's very good to look at things that inspires you in that moment. And I think that's more important. But if you really want the advice for how to make training effective, it's do something every day. And there are various reasons for that. First of all, there is the whole momentum thing. You know, inertia is physics. We all live in a physical world. An object in motion tends to stay in motion or requires much less energy to keep it in motion, while an object that's standing still requires a lot more energy to get into motion. That's why it's so difficult to start doing things. It's physics. It's Newton. It's basic. So that's one of the reasons why doing something every day is good, because it becomes easy to do something every day. The second thing, which people don't consider at all, is that your brain is changing when you're sleeping. So doing half an hour, 6 days a week is not just much more effective than doing 3 hours once a week. It's more effective than doing 5 hours once a week. Because you're changing in your brain, continuously developing, you're changing. So if you want to learn something, if you look a little on it every day, you have a much better result than big practice sessions. So that's, I think, hopefully for the really busy people where they're thinking like 10 hours a week or 12 hours a week. Who are these people? Don't they have a life? Don't they have a job? Don't they have families? Well, you know, I think for a lot of people out there say, I have 12 hours a week available for chess. It sounds like that's never going to be me, or not going to be me till I retire. But if you find 10 minutes a day, set up a position and think for 10 minutes and really try and have some idea of what you're trying to do, like in the thinking. Are you trying to practice your candidate moves? Are you trying to practice understanding the positional aspects in the position? Are you just playing through a game and trying to, like, let's say we're playing through Geary's games. Like, Geary's a big hero of mine with his really wonderful feel for the game. You can play them through and then think in, like, say, ChessBase. You don't have to buy a book. Of course, you should buy books, and you should buy my book or Ramesh's book and so on. But when you read them, then you can also go to ChessBase, play through the moves, put it in training mode so you don't know what the next move is. Look at the position and think, okay, I think this and this and this is important. Just do little candidate move check, little check for like the 3 questions, what's important, guess. Even that, something where you're actively involving your mind, because earlier we had playing games, analyzing games, and studying chess. It's like, yeah, but when are you going to run your mind? I know Ramesh and I, we both work with kids who say they study chess 12 hours a day, and then we train them for 4 hours and they go to bed, because for 12 hours a day their computer is thinking, but when they have to think for 4 hours they get really tired. So train thinking, do something every day, do something that inspires you. If you want to have some slightly bigger project, do something consistently. But the big planning, I think that's for very specific people of whom I not really have met anyone yet. I know they exist. There are really some people where they are very much organized like that. But most people, I think, actually just doing something that's interesting to you will probably engage you more than anything else.
Wow. All right. A lot of awesome nuggets there, Jacob. Thank you. So I want to get to the next question because we have so many good questions, and this is such a rare opportunity to hear from trainers of your caliber. So Ramesh, maybe you can start with this one. You kind of touched on it earlier when you were talking about whether you should build strengths or address weaknesses. This is a question from Jim Aspinwall. Thanks for the support, Jim. So Jim asks, he says, I'm in my early 50s, have been rated about 1900 USCF for the past 10 years. My goal is to reach 2000, which is the expert title here in the US. He says, but I lose too many games to tactics that most experts wouldn't miss. I do a lot of tactical problems, but it hasn't seemed to help me take the next step. Is there a method you recommend to systematically study tactics that can help an older player improve?
Yeah, I think I had partially covered about this in my earlier question. So it's very important, like what Jacob mentioned, I agree with almost all of what he said. Like it's more important on how you train, how you work, how you see chess than on which particular area you are working on. So be it opening or middle game or end game, you're trying to improve your attacking skills or defensive skills or calculation ability, doesn't really matter. How you see chess, how you train, that is the key. Like if you have to be really curious, you should feel I have to change. This is essential. You should not be trying to reinforce your way of thinking. Instead, you should be aware that I have to constantly evolve. I have to keep changing how I look at chess, how I think. So these are very important. So you should be very open-minded and flexible to changes, to look at different ways of thinking. Like Jacob said, when you look at a position, ask yourself which is the worst placed piece. Now, this is easy to do when someone asks you to do that. But when you're seeing chess on your own, it's very tough to have the discipline to do this kind of training. But that's what you have to do. You have to have some way of looking at positions, and that's when you begin to develop habits. Now, regarding the specific question, like I'm solving a lot of tactical positions, but I'm still making mistakes. So I think, like I said, the focus should be on not solving many puzzles in a day. Like let's say I'm going to work 1 hour on solving tactics today. Instead of trying to solve many puzzles incorrectly, it's better to solve few of them, but correctly. So that is very important because this is the way we form habits. So if I'm solving 10 puzzles and 5 of them are not fully correct, then what I'm basically doing is I'm learning how to make mistakes 50% of the time, something like this. So in general, like I said, practice doesn't make us perfect. Practice just makes permanent on what we are doing. So if I'm doing something repeatedly, it becomes my habit. I don't become good at it essentially, because if I keep making mistakes while solving, I become good at making mistakes. So I don't become perfect in calculation. So it's very important you get the answers correct. So that should be one of your priorities, not to move pieces while solving puzzles. And very important is you have in every puzzle, one of the reasons why we make mistakes is many times we miss the best defense for the opponent. So there will be a repetition for our idea, which we have completely missed. So if you think you got the answer correctly, try to refute your idea yourself. That way, you will start paying more attention to opponent's defensive resources. And if you have become good at finding opponent's defensive resources, then you are more objective. Yeah, so this is my answer to Jim Aspinwall.
Okay.
I can maybe add one thing in there that, you know, as a chess publisher, we sell books to whoever, you know. If the devil pays cash, he can have our books.
Right.
You know, we do not have any political affiliation. He's welcome. But I have to say that, you know, when people ask me which books should I study, you know, they are mostly expecting me to tell them that they should study my books. And most people who ask me which books they should not study my books. We have a wonderful series by Arthur Yusopov, which in German is called something like Get to 1500 rating, Get to 1800 rating, Get to 2100 rating. And I took exercises from the Get to 2100 rating, and I gave it to GMs, and they didn't make 100%. So we totally killed, in English, we killed the names for these books. But our intention with these books was really that for the vast majority of chess players, there should be something really good available there, where you explain some themes and then you get to work on these themes and actions. And the books are lovely, and not surprisingly, they are cornerstone of our publishing house now. And I recommend them warmly to everyone. And while we're at the sale pitch mode, I should say that if anyone are interested in 365, but maybe thinks $500 is a big commitment just on the basis of a smooth talking guy on the radio. I know in the US there sort of is a belief that everyone will obviously give only 500 for, like we all see in the websites. I understand $500 is a lot of money. We do have some other options, which is you can have a monthly trial, and some people have done that for $100. And actually, everyone who signed up for the 100 for a month, they have renewed, as far as I know. You could also have a quarterly trial for $250. And we will have also, when the website is a little more developed, we will have a chance. And this is not my department, so I don't know how it will work, but there will be a chance for paying in installments. So there is that. But first of all, what any good salesperson should have, and I mean not a smooth talking guy, but someone who is trying to sell you something that you might actually want, he should have some free samples for you. And if you go to our Facebook site, you go to our YouTube site, you will find some trial lessons available. You can send us some message as well and have see something. It is really a try before you buy offer we want to give you. If you just want to see a few hours of free lessons, you can also send us a message because it doesn't hurt us. So we don't mind. But anyway, the answer to Jim is to make sure that his exercises are not too difficult, because Ramesh is entirely right. If you practice making mistakes, then you will make mistakes. But if you practice getting simple things right, then you will get simple things right. And that might be the answer to Jim, but it's a short answer and it's a complicated problem, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, I think it's excellent advice, and Jim definitely is not alone as someone who struggles with that issue. I mean, some people, it's like you can even continuously improve your tactics rating, but then you go sit down and play, and it's a different story, you know?
Well, I by the way, there's a main reason why people don't see tactics, and it's so stupid that, you know, you're going to hit your head into the wall when I say it. It's because they don't look for them. And the second thing is they think too fast. They should think slower so that they're in control of the thought process. So it's not thoughts going through their head, but they actually steer the thought process. And you can hear much more about that in my course on calculation, now available on 365.
I think you might need to switch your career to sales, Jacob. No, it's but I also recommend, I mean, again, I would speak honestly, I greatly enjoyed the lectures, and you know, as regular listeners always hear me talk about, my chess playing is still on the back burner, but it was so good that I'm like, oh man, you know, I should join. And I mean, obviously I've been getting the lectures for now, but I should properly join and pay you guys the money that you richly deserve and get back in chess. So it's very tempting. It's a constant temptation, but then you think about the aforementioned 12 hours and it's, it's daunting. Okay. So
you should just join just for the homework club alone. It's worth the money.
Well, that's what the thing is. If you did it, it's like signing up for a gym on New Year's Day. You know, you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the homework club. And obviously that would have a huge benefit to one's calculation. I mean, I can't believe, Jacob, that you were saying that you mark the homework yourself. As someone who runs lower level chess classes, I don't always achieve that benchmark.
Well, I think it's I don't do anything half.
Yeah, that's evident. Okay, so we got a couple more questions, so we're just going to keep them firing. This one is from Justin Gardner, who says, actually, let me... we'll go with this one. Justin says, I was fortunate enough to attend the 2019 Quality Chess Academy camp in Crete and learned an immense amount from the world's two most knowledgeable and respected trainers. One thing I struggle with is the accumulation of chess knowledge as compared to the accumulation of chess skills. Could both trainers shed light on methods they recommend to their students so that one does not simply accumulate chess knowledge but can translate this into chess skills?
Yeah, let me take the question first, if Jacob is okay with it. So first thing is, like I said, I've also, in our earlier session, we had discussed about this, acquiring knowledge and acquiring skills. So what happens usually is, like most players, they want to improve, they want to make progress in their chess playing skills, and they want to get good results as a player. But what they end up doing is, like, they spend time with chess, but the work which they are doing is not converting into improvement in their practical skills. So it's very important that we should realize that the work I do should actually translate into some form of improvement in how I think, how I take decisions in my games. So that's very important. So if you're just going to see games, and I've seen many players, they just use the right arrow the most when looking at games. You just keep looking at the next move, the next move, the next move, the next move, and we are not actually absorbing much information, and definitely we are not learning how to analyze positions. So when we, at least let's say 50% of the time when we are practicing, we should spend on basically analyzing positions. It could be on any topic. It could be opening, middle game, end game. Like I said before, it doesn't really matter. But we should spend some amount of time, good amount of time in doing our preparation in simply analyzing positions. And even positions which we don't like. That is also a very important part of training. Sometimes, like, I may not like to play endgames, but if there is an interesting endgame, I should make an attempt to analyze such positions as well. So that curiosity to learn is very important, and than just seeing chess. That's very essential. So when you are practicing, you have to actually try to analyze position, come up with different ideas, and you have to be curious to find, like, you come up with a move and the stronger player plays a different move, then you should ask yourself why the stronger player played the move, what could be the logic, or what could be the reason, or what principle he is applying here, and is there any calculation he has done before taking this decision. Basically, you have to be curious about these things, and you have to come up with your own answer. This way, you are reinforcing the principles you have learned from the books or from your coaches, and I think it's a very good way to improve our practical analytical skills. Jacob?
I think it was great.
Okay, great. And are you guys, do you know yet, Jacob, will there be a 2020 camp, Quality Chess Academy camp?
There will be two.
Oh, wow.
There will be one in June, and there will be one in October. As usual, you know, I always hope a few people will show up, and it won't be going alone to Crete. But
there are worse places to go.
If it happens, it's not so bad after all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Justin, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, Justin is not the only listener who's mentioned that he had an excellent time and learned a lot of chess at the camp. So, yeah, keep an eye. I'll link to this and everything else that we discuss in the show description for anyone interested in chess camp in a beautiful locale with elite chess trainers. We got two more questions if you guys can hang in there. Are you guys okay on time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this one you guys also touched on, but I just want to give every question a full airing because we got so many good ones. So, and I saw that John Hartmann actually had mentioned this, I think, in your Facebook group as well, which is so Chad Oliver is asking for specific advice for someone preparing for a tournament. Like, how should you change your schedule as a tournament approaches? Say you're within 2 weeks of a tournament. How should one alter one's chess training schedule at that point?
Well, I could maybe give a go at this one then. I think I would follow the advice of Dvoretsky, which is say that you will not change as a chess player 2 weeks before tournament. You could maybe check some tactics and do some training, some combinations, something to get your mind going. That would certainly help, but also just refresh your openings and maybe your main end games, so that the things that you used to know is also something you will know when you're sitting at the board. But in 2 weeks, I would mainly think about refreshing things.
Yeah, I think Jan Gustafsson in one of my interviews with him said that he likes to do easier tactics right before a tournament as compared to like really pushing yourself. What do you guys think of that idea?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very important. Like just before the tournament, if you're going to do too hard puzzles and if you're not getting the answers correct consistently, it could affect our confidence. So it makes sense to at least start with solving easy puzzles, get them right. And if you're getting most of the answers or if all the answers are correct, then probably step up towards a little tougher positions. So like I said, it's very important to get the answers correct. And like I said, two things. One, you can focus more on solving puzzles before the tournament to understand how alert you are, how you are concentrating on how you are calculating. And if you are getting the answers right, it does a world of good to your confidence. And the other area I would focus more before the tournament would be to plug the holes in my opening and also revise my most commonly appearing openings in my games.
Yeah, that's good advice. Although sometimes it can feel like your whole repertoire is a hole in is an opening hole. So, but but I get what you're saying, and I think you mentioned in one of your lectures you can focus on. I mean, try to guess like what opening is you're most likely to see. I mean, if there's a problem point that is a very popular opening, that is worth looking at most likely. Okay, one more question from a listener. This one is from Say Chess, who I just want to give a shout out. He made a new chess set called chess website called thebestchessbooks.com, which I think is a good idea. So basically his idea is to have an independent chess review site so that you don't just have to go to Amazon if you're looking for chess reviews or good reads, which a lot of chess players don't bother with. So I'll link to that. And thanks, Martin, for the support. And his question was simply, Jacob, why is it that you said that you don't believe in goals?
Oh, why I don't believe in goals? Okay. What I don't believe in is SMART goals. So SMART goals is specific, they're measurable, they are actionable, they are whatever the R is.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. I used to know this.
Yeah, it's reasonable, I think. And then they are, I don't know, tedious maybe.
Timely.
Because time, whatever. Time specific, yes. I think really that if you are goal oriented, that that's sort of like going on the Great Siberian Railroad to get to Beijing. And then when you're in Beijing, you're like, yes, made it.
Right.
It's sleeping through your entire cruise. I'm not. If there's something, I understand a goal being paying off the mortgage. I'm not like every month when they take money out my account, I'm not like, yes, I really enjoyed that. I understand that goal. I understand the goal of I just need to pass this class so I never have to look at this stuff again. If you're a student, I understand this goal. But in chess, it's like, like what really makes me happy in chess is sitting at the board and playing really well. It's looking at things I really enjoy. It's okay. I'm an educator by nature. By the way, it's a whole long talk about that as well, but we can ignore that. But I enjoy talking about chess and seeing that other people understand something they didn't understand before, or something just became a little easier for them. All these kind of things, they don't fit in a SMART goal measurement thing. And we're back again to this kind of the training plan and so on. I am sure there are people where this works for them, but there are not many. There are some things where, it's good to have a system, like every 3 days you go to the gym, or there's this amazing book called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, by the guy who's drawing Dilbert. I can't remember his name.
Scott Adams, yeah.
Scott Adams, yeah. It's an amazing book, which he just tells you about the most stupid things he has done. And still, he's this very successful guy because something worked out for him. But one thing he says, which I think is a really great idea, is like he goes to the gym every day. And sometimes he just goes in, says hi, and then he goes back home again because he doesn't want to be at the gym. But he forces himself to go to the gym every day. And you can have all kind of other systems and so on. But if you're just focusing on the end point, and it's just like winning the medal or something like that, I just don't see any happiness in there. So I believe it in the sense of, yeah, they exist, and for some people they can achieve something. But I don't think it's a guide to happiness. And that's probably what he's referring to.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's great advice. And I know that you guys are super busy, so I think that's a reasonable note to end on. I did have one final question I couldn't resist asking. You mentioned, of course, Jacob working on Boris Gelfand's team in the match with Anand. With this being a world championship year, as Jan Gustafsson has pointed out, the even numbered years in the chess world are the best years. You got the Olympiad, the candidates, and the world championship all coming up. If you guys had an opportunity to work with, the candidates, it would already be happening, or to work with someone for the world championship, would you be interested, or are you just too swamped with all your other training endeavors? Ramesh, you want to go first on this one?
Fine. Okay. So I'm currently working with a few players on a regular basis, and as such, I'm quite happy with what is happening. But working at the level of the candidates, it will be completely new experience for me. I would really be excited to be part of such a team if an opportunity arises.
And Jacob?
No. No. Not really. I talk a lot about happiness and so on, and I really mean it. I would do things that really inspire me, and at this point, I'm inspired by working with Sam. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy doing these things with Ramesh. Books I want to write. The new Gelfand book is almost ready. It will be published in half a year, but it's almost done. I'm writing a book on my own as well. So I would say no, not really at this point. However, I do think I am working on the World Championship and candidates and so on. They are just a bit further down the line. When I'm working with people like Pragnananda or Vaishali, I'm thinking that we are actually doing the job of preparing for the candidates in the World Championship match. It's just not happening in a month. I think it's not the timeline I find inspiring. That's for opening analysts, and I am not one of those people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was that I am Christopher Yu in one of your chats on the on the 365?
Oh yeah, he's a member as well. Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of potential strong young players, that totally makes sense. And as the publisher of Quality Chess being the publisher of the Anand files, you more than anyone know how intense that would be. So Totally makes sense. All right, well, guys, I really appreciate this bonus time, getting to pick your brains even more. We got some great insights, and so 365 Chess Academy. We will link to the website. Anything final to add that our listeners should know?
I think it's very important. Like we enjoy chess. Chess should make us happy, not miserable. So if we are having feeling like I'm missing something to become a better player, it's better to feel competent instead of feeling I'm missing something. So you have to enjoy the game, give your best shot, and giving your best shot should make you happy.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would add to that, if you feel you're missing something, I'm sure that the answer is on 365chessacademy.com.
Perfect. Okay, so on that note, we will let you guys get back to your busy lives. Thanks again, and good luck with this endeavor. I think it's a great opportunity for the chess world.
Great, and our sales department will get you after this call.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone who helps make Perpetual Chess possible. That includes my producer, Matthew Passy, for his timely and capable editing, Chessable.com for their generous support of the show. But I also want to thank everyone who helps spread the word about Perpetual Chess, whether it be by telling a friend, writing a positive review on Spotify or YouTube, or we could use some new reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you're enjoying the show, please write a quick review. It helps spread the word about Perpetual Chess. But most of all, I want to thank the people who support the show financially. People who donate via PayPal or Patreon really help me continue to sustain and grow Perpetual Chess. And those who donate more than $5 a month get their name or entity's name read on the outro. That's about to happen right now. So I would like to give special thanks to the following people and entities for their generous support of Perpetual Chess. They are Chessable.com, Quality Chess Books, the Capital City Chess Club, the Apprend Chess Twitch channel, Andrew Bach, Austin Clough, Benjamin Porteau, Kathy Carr, Chad Oliver, Dan O'Hanlon, Danny Davidson, David Schreiber, I am Dimitri Schneider, Faraz Sawaf, Gary Foreman, Greg Natel, Greg Shahadi, Guven Manet, Jens Green, John Jernigan, John Rockefeller, John Cromartie, John MacArthur, Kelly Palmer, Kevin O'Callahan, Lone Pine Chess, Lorraine DeRay, Lucio Casada Silva, the law offices of Stuart Katz, Michael Kahn, FM Michael Oblin, Mike Zalazny, Moonmaster 9000, Moonmaster, we need a question from you. Is everything okay? We need you to send in a listener question. Peter Sadi, Reuven Fisher, Seattle Chess Club, Thomas Stonix, Thomas Tachenko, Todd Bryant of Strong Chess, and Todd Kennedy. I would also like to thank the following Rook-level supporters. They include Aaron Waffler, Ace Vallega, Adam Ralph of ChessEngland.com, Adrian Gutierrez, Alex Pejas, FM Andrei Terakov, Andrew Perry, Aniti Deer, Better Chess Training, Bill Juniper, Bill Moran, Brad and Andy Rosen, Brett Howard Lynn, Brian Mullis, Chad Hilton, Dr. Charles Snodgrass, Chris Flanagan, Chris Wayne Scott, Christopher Baumgartner, Christopher Chabris, Chris Lott, Christopher Wood, I am Christoph Zalecki, aka Chess Explained, Coach J's Chess Academy, Courtney Fry, David Bleskacek, Daniel Gell, Daniel Ginsberg, Daniel Lucas of the U.S. Chess Federation, Daniel Naylor, Dave Saylor, David Cramley of Chessable.com, Dwayne Edmonds, Ethan Smith, I am elect or possibly not I am elect. I don't know if 3 norms makes him an I am elect. Donnie Ariel, Fox Valley Chess Club, Francis Letarte Lavoie, Frank Tortoris MD, Gary Andrews, Gary Lewis, Geert Vanderveld, Gerard Barta, Giovanni Russo, Hans Schut, Harish Srinivasan, Jacques Perry, James Aspinwall, James Bonastia, James Murr, Jason Onfang, Jason Woolham, Jaydeep Chakrabarty, Jeff Anderson, Jeffrey Martello, Jerry Wells, JJ Stranad, Dr. John Fallon, John Fernandez, John Fontaine, John Hartmann, John Jeffrey, John McMurtry, Jordan Goodwin, Jose Rodriguez, Justin Gardner, WGM Jen Shahadi, Joel Rocky, John Thompson, GM Josh Friedel, I am Kare Christensen, WGM Katarina Nemtsova, Kelly Palmer, I am Kostya Kovyutsky, Krishna Gopala Krishnan, Larry Ryforth, Laura Belyavsky, Martin Knudsen, Matthew Passy, Matthew Tedesco of SeattleChessMeetup.org, Mechanics Institute Chess Club of San Francisco, Michael Allard, Miguel Arispide, Mike Clem, Mr. Mike Shahadi, Nate Salon, Neil Bruce, Olaf Mueller-Michaels, GM Pascal Charbonneau, Passy Passaman, Paul Bain, Paul Clarkson, Paul Swaney, Paulo Santana, Peter Lux, Randy Temple, Ricky Grijalva, Richard Hallenbeck, Roy Yearwood, Ryan Berg, the Say Chess YouTube channel, Scott Doherty, Scott McKinnon, Sebastian Finsterwater, Stefan Roller, WGM Tatyev Abrahamian, Tim Brennan of TacticsTime.com, Tim Seymour, Timothy Ha, Tom Edsel, Tomas Komanich, Tony Rotella, Tyron Price, Wayne Beam, William Brock, William Juniper, William Hogarth, William Peterson, FM Zhao Zhang of Chess1000.com, and Zhivko Stoyanov. Thanks, as always, for listening and interacting with the Perpetual Chess community, and I will catch you guys next week.